Huh?
No,
No, they don't. I'm telling you, it's just they don't know if the show is starting. They think it's a whole bunch of.
no, I'm talking about the puppets. I'm talking about the puppets.
If the puppets want to talk, okay, maybe I could live with that. But just the schmoozing around thing at the beginning is
Anyway,
not.
we're on now. Just letting you know.
How much is this one?
By the way, Mordechai, I tried to publish the book on Amazon.
Not as nice as this one. Why is it a higher price?
Yeah, hey,
L'chaim. They told me the book only has 16 pages and there's a minimum of 24 pages. Are you listening, Schneider? So what I want to do, tell me if this is a good idea. After the page that says thank you, the end, I want to do another page that says just kidding. This is the beginning of your own book, and then put 7 blank pages for them to do their own drawings and paste in pictures. So will you be able to help me with to write that page, the just kidding page? This is the beginning of your own book.
Right. It says we are live, custom live streaming service.
Okay.
That's not recording, is it?
Lave, what's the noise? How are we going to do a niggin, Lave, if you're making a buzzing sound like this segment? We're supposed to play a niggin, and you're making a buzzing sound. Explain me how this is supposed to work.
Just pretend it isn't there.
Attending buzz.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
Schneider like that answer.
Oh, plug it into something, maybe. By the way, Schneider. Schneider,
that's nice.
Schneider, have you ever hired Lave jam on that guitar?
Maybe.
So I know you've been.
Oh, let me tell you. Remember, Schneider? Remember when we were in the yeshiva together? Yeah, there we go. Tune it up, baby. I'm telling you, it's nice to even listen to him. Tune it up. It's like a masterpiece. Oy, 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 oy.
Chinese melody called tuning.
Tuning.
Right.
Yeah. I almost felt the responsibility.
Bezalel.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I could just listen to Lave tuning his guitar all day.
I'm with you.
He's all rock and roll, that boy.
I'm with you.
I'm saying that's not the way we do. You just, you know what I mean?
I know. I'm just telling you what I thought at the time.
In other words, you're giving tzedakah. They said you're giving tzedakah. Which is nothing wrong.
When I was your age, we had to walk miles to school.
Okay. That was a nice warm-up opening. Hey, kids, what time is it? It is time for Gazinta Hate Street. And tonight, we have a story to open up with. And this story has been told many times. But the particular way the Rebbe explains it is something new. And the title of the story is A Lesson from the Tears of a Child. In the beginning of our Parsha this week, Vayera, Hashem appears to our father Abraham after he got the circumcision.
Gimel Aleph, you are muted.
Gimel Aleph, you're muted. Unmute yourself.
Oh no, I was actually just blowing my schnozzle. That's why.
All right, blowing your schnozzle. We're lucky Schneider doesn't blow his schnozzle. He'd blow us out of the room.
Schneider has by the way, that's how Schneider blows his schnozzle. You're listening to it.
And Gimel Aleph, you could raise up your microphone a little if you want. The volume on your mic. The previous Rebbe told a story that on the Rebbe Rashab's 4th or 5th birthday, his mother, Rebbetzin Rivka, took him to receive a blessing from his grandfather, the Tzemach Tzedek. That day was the birthday, the 20th of Cheshvan, was the Shabbos of this Parsha Vayera. When he entered the room of his grandfather, of his holy grandfather, the boy broke into tears. When asked why he was crying, young Sholem Ber said, Hashem appeared to our father Abraham. Why doesn't he appear to me? There are two versions of the Tzemach Tzedek answer to the boy. The first, when a Jew of 99 years old resolves to give himself a circumcision, he deserves that Hashem should reveal himself. In the second version, the Tzemach Tzedek answered, when a tzaddik, when a righteous man of 99 years resolves to circumcise himself, he deserves that Hashem should reveal himself. So the first version is when a Jew of 99, and the second version when a righteous person of 99 years. Our Rebbe adds that even a Jew who served completely for 99 years, like Abraham, our father, whose days were complete, even he must circumcise himself. He must remove, what do you mean he has to circumcise himself? He must remove the worldly covering which hides God's omnipotence. By comparison, a person who's 100 is compared to someone who has already left the world. At that level, the world no longer hides on the godly light and life within the creation. But as long as you're only 99, you haven't completed your work. And you have to circumcise yourself. You have to take away the thick covering that hides ungodliness. It's not that Avram Avinu wanted to add something to his earlier service, or that he realized the primary thing was the mitzvah of circumcision was missing. Rather, Avram's whole service was to prepare for his children to receive the Torah. And the mitzvah of circumcision served as the foundation of that service. So in essence, Abraham's whole previous service had been incomplete. And to perfect it, he needed to be circumcised. The lesson is that however great our service was until now, we have not reached the level of 100 years. Therefore, not only is our current service incomplete, we have to perfect all our earlier service by removing the covering which obstructs the truth of the existence of the godly light. We have to remove every obstacle to the revelation of godliness. And since both versions of the story were told by the previous Rebbe, they're both significant, and each contains a teaching that the other lacks. The answer to the Jew of 99 who resolves to become circumcised, that there is a revelation of Hashem, teaches us the essential point of the story. The mitzvah of circumcision is the preparation for the mitzvahs that we do after receiving the Torah. And these mitzvahs are done with the strength of Hashem. The mitzvahs that were done by our forefathers before we received the Torah were performed through the strength of the creations. They did it out of their own strength. And from the Creator's perspective, all levels of Jewish souls are equal. Therefore, the first version speaks of a Jew who's 99 years old. The second version is that when a righteous man of 99 circumcises himself, then he could have the revelation of godliness. That means from our perspective, from Hashem's perspective, everybody's equal when a Jew of 99 circumcises himself. From our perspective, there are levels of service. The message is that even one on a high level of a righteous person has to uncover godliness hidden in nature by removing the thick covering. And the general lesson in the story and the semitic answer is that by doing mitzvahs, a person becomes unified with Hashem. Even Jewish sinners are filled with mitzvahs like seeds fill a pomegranate. And the word mitzvah itself means connection. Therefore, when we do a mitzvah, we connect with Hashem. Therefore, when a Jew does a mitzvah, he or she makes the blessing who has made us holy, connecting us to Hashem through his commandments. Now, this could cause a Jew to think that he has perfected himself when we make this blessing. Therefore, we have the primary lesson from our story. The work of perfecting our service is continuous. So whenever a person resolves to circumcise himself, to take away the covering that hides ungodliness, to reveal his connection to Hashem, he becomes worthy for Hashem to reveal himself to him in the same way that he revealed himself to Abraham, our father, in a prophetic vision. Do we have a niggun? Snyder, how are you at singing a niggun with the boys?
Snyder.
We could sing a song.
All right.
Well, that sounds very professional.
Very groovy.
Snyder, let me tell you, we have a great niggun. You know this niggun Sheibana based on Mikdash Schneider. Remember in Yeshiva we used to sing it together?
I can't hear you.
Remember in Yeshiva we used to sing this niggun, Yivatzin.
What's wrong with your microphone?
He's reminding you used to sing a niggun with him called Building the Base of Migdash. Shebona Base of Migdash.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Hit it.
Flaggy, give me the key. Oh, Tati Al King, why don't you do a good thing? And please return with your people. And the angels all sing, oh glorious King, won't you please
Return with your people.
They made you a crown, won't you come back to town? And please return with your people. Oh, Melech, our king, you know it don't mean nothing unless you please return with your people.
Excellent. The Hero Song Boogie. Excellent. Now, this is some information not everybody probably knows. A Jew has 3 souls. Up till now, we knew that a Jew had 2 souls. He had a godly soul and he has an animal soul. However, there's a 3rd soul. The godly soul is called by 5 names: Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, and Yechida. But it also, besides the animal soul and the godly soul, a Jew has an intellectual soul, a rational soul. The rational soul and the animal soul are part of the unholy coverings that hide ungodliness. Like we just said in the story, we have to circumcise ourselves to take off the covering that's holding on or hiding ungodliness. And the animal soul and the rational soul are part of that thick covering. But it's called the neutral husk, the neutral covering, because it's possible to extract the good from it. The difference is that the intellectual soul, being intellect, is from a higher level than the neutral husks, and the animal soul, being emotional, is from the lower level of the neutral husks. Now, all three of these souls, the godly soul, the animal soul, and the intellectual soul, are invested and unified in the body. I like to think of it, they're braided in the body like a challah. And each contributes to a person's basic psychology. Therefore, everyone has the potential to get satisfaction and enthusiasm and enjoyment. Since it's a neutral husk, you can get satisfaction and enjoyment from either the side of holiness or from the opposite side. And the animal sacrifices that we bought in times of the temple, which were replaced now by our prayers, symbolize the offering up of the animal soul's enthusiasm, which is the life force in the blood, and enjoyment, it's fat, and we burn it up until the ashes are left. And the ashes symbolize the essential component of the animal soul. In a spiritual sense, what's left is the pure potential of appetite, which is the essence of the animal soul. The animal soul is appetites. But now those appetites can be utilized for good and for godliness in the service of Hashem. In other words, we could have enthusiasm and enjoyment in serving Hashem just as much as we can have enthusiasm and enjoyment in going against Hashem, in physical pleasure. Not only you don't lose by sacrificing that animal and sacrificing the energy and enjoyment in physicality, but that potential will now be used to their fullest through enjoyment in holy pursuits. And there's a big gain. As the godly soul becomes elevated through this, using the enjoyment and liveliness in serving God, the godly soul becomes elevated to a level higher than the angels. It becomes a mover. The angels are standers. Because as the animal is consumed, that soul becomes included in its source, in the holy chariot. The animal soul becomes included in its source, in the holy chariot, which contains the four archetypal spiritual faces: the face of an ox, the face of a lion, the face of an eagle, and the face of a man. And that chariot then can lift up the godly soul, which becomes the driver of the chariot, up to the level of the godly man who runs the chariot. And even higher than the man, even higher than intellect, it ascends, and the godly soul with it, of the one who's bringing the sacrifice, through the holy pursuits that it's getting enlivenment and enjoyment from. Even though there's work involved in this, you have to use your intellect to realize it. There's great satisfaction in having earned one's place. So again, sacrificing the animal, its blood, its enthusiasm for worldly desires, go away from the worldly desires, and its fat, which symbolizes its enjoyment in those appetites. And when we sacrifice those appetites, the enthusiasm and the fun is not lost. It's just transferred into enthusiasm and enjoyment in holiness. And Hashem is asking us and informing us that by sacrificing our gross physical desires, we will not lose that ability to be enthusiastic and to have enjoyment, but will gain even more. We'll use that power in holiness in the service of Hashem. And we can illustrate it through the mystical interpretation of this week's Haftorah. Everybody knows that every week we read a portion of the Torah and we read a portion from the prophets. And the portion that we read this week from the prophets can illustrate this point of how a person can have enthusiasm, illumination, and pleasure from godly pursuits. You guys want to do a niggin at this point? You got something loaded?
Yeah, 1 second. Schneider, I want to ask you, because what we're playing now, it's called the Bukhari Swing. Remember we was in Bukharim, in the Yeshiva Bukharim together?
Ah, yes, that one I remember.
By the way, me and Schneider, we was actually in Samarkand with Berke Chaim.
Really?
Yeah, I taught Berke Chaim when he was in diapers. Yeah.
You were at his bris, probably.
Yeah, Schneider, believe it or not, was the candy man in the shul. He didn't give too much candy out because he would freak out the kids, but still, it was a good intention.
That's a very respectful position to be the candy man in the shul.
Oh,
Why, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. The thing is that Schneider, what he could do, he could balance the candy on his big schnozzle, and he would say, "Here, have a candy." It'll be right on the end of his schnozzle. Like this.
But they were distancing, so they couldn't get it.
Okay, now time for Anigan. You ready for Anigan? Here we go.
Okay, sounds good. So there was a lady, she was called a daughter of the prophets. And she cried out to Elisha the prophet. She was called one woman, Isha Achas. Cried out to Elisha the prophet. She said, my husband died. The creditors are coming to take and enslave my sons. The backstory to this story, why the sons were taken to be enslaved, was because she was the wife of Obadiah the prophet. And Obadiah had died. And when he died, he left a lot of debts. And the reason he left a lot of debts, there was a king of Israel whose wife was a very evil lady named Jezebel. And Jezebel hated the prophets. And she put out a decree that all the prophets should be killed. So Obadiah hid them in a cave, 200 prophets and their families. And he gave them their livelihood. He gave them their food and their clothing and took care of them. And in order to do that, even though he's a very rich guy, he had to borrow a lot of money. And he signed away everything. So when he died, all his property was under mortgage to these creditors. So his widow, the woman in our story, the daughter of the prophets, as she's called, was left with those immense debts, and she couldn't pay them. So the creditors were going to take her two sons and sell them in the slave market. She cries out to the holy man, Elisha, the prophet. The creditors are going to take my two sons. Elisha asks her, what do you have in your possession? What do you have in your house? She says, just one small jar of oil. Elisha tells her, go to your neighbors, borrow empty vessels, not just a few, but many as you can get, and pour from the small jar of oil, and all the vessels will be filled with oil. You'll sell the oil, you'll pay your debts, and you and the boys will live on what's left after the creditors are satisfied. So Elisha was able to perform this miracle for her, that she could get out of debt. She didn't have to give her sons away. And they were able to make a living. So up till now, it's a very nice and interesting and miraculous story. But we're told that the prophecies were written, those prophecies that were written down are a teaching for all generations. So how can we learn from this story and use it in our service to Hashem? As we have said other times, Chassidus is a new light from the inner level of the godly crown all the way up to the infinite. And it's the point that connects the Torah to Hashem. And Chassidus is called the Yechida of the Torah, the highest level of the soul. Therefore, Chassidus can illuminate all the other parts of the Torah. So it can illuminate the prophets. And the Chassidic explanation of this story sheds light explaining the inner dynamic of the story. The one woman and Elisha the prophet, revealing its message for all generations, especially for us, the hills of Mashiach. What do you mean, the hills of Mashiach? Even though we're a low generation, we're the level of hills, we can hear the footsteps of Mashiach. And this Isha Achas, this one lady, one woman, symbolizes the Jewish soul. A soul is called one. The dead husband symbolizes that one soul's connection and closeness to Hashem has died. My godly fire has burned out. I've lost faith, this soul says. And the two sons are love and fear of Hashem, which are going to be taken away by the evil impulse to serve non-godliness, to serve physical desires. The love and fear, like we said, could either be towards godliness or it could be towards non-godliness. Elisha symbolizes Hashem, or at least the holy man who's connected to Hashem. The two sons, like we said, symbolize love and fear of Hashem that comes about through the service of Hashem. And the creditors who want to take the sons as slaves, that is the evil impulse to change the service of love and fear of Hashem to the love and fear of base desires. The empty vessels are doing the mitzvahs of Hashem without reason or taste. I'm not going to do them because I understand them. I'm not going to do them because I get satisfaction and pleasure from them. I'm going to do them. They're empty vessels. I'm just going to do them because Elisha said I should. The jar of oil that she has, that's the essence of the soul. And that little oil, the essence of the soul, will fill all the empty vessels with enthusiasm and enjoyment of godliness. Until the evil one is banished, the creditors are paid off. And the soul, with its offspring, love and fear of Hashem, will live off what's left. Should we do a nigga now? What about it, Hirsch? You ready for a nigga? Oh, yeah, there you go.
Hey, Snyder, you know this niggin? I'll tell you about this niggin. This niggin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look at the pinky. Oh, Snyder with the pinky yarmulke.
You must have been to the wedding tonight.
Oh, beautiful pinky yarmulke. Snyder, you look so... Snyder, you look like you're having too good of a time. It's very good.
I try. I do what I can.
Yeah, I'll bet. So, anyways, we're going to... You ready? Here we go. How you like? I was on Mensa, was inside morgen. That's where's the bongos. That comes morgen. Es wäre doch sein, was wir noch sein. Nehmen wir eine Schickerei. I was on Mensa, was inside morgen. Als der Schicker morgen. Es wäre doch sein, was wir noch sein.
Ay, 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 yo. Thank you very much, boys. That was good. Very groovy niggin. Nice time. Yay. So I want to bring a couple stories in real life that actually happened, which can show how this thing really works. That when the soul feels disconnected from Hashem, the person can go to a holy man and he can be influenced and imbued with the ability to bring out the essence of his soul into empty vessels, into doing mitzvahs without any taste and without any reason. And I read these two stories from a book called Positivity Bias. And you can see the name of the people that happened there, and you can even see a video of the person explaining what happened. In these stories, our Rebbe will represent Elisha the prophet. After a person's parents died, he came to see the Rebbe. He said to the Rebbe, Rebbe, I'm having a crisis of faith. I lost my faith in Hashem like this lady. I have no money to pay my creditors. I love Judaism, he said. I love the rituals, but they're not really part of my life. Like she said, my husband died. The Rebbe said to him, if I ask you to do something, will you do it without any preconditions? Promise me you'll do it. The guy said, I'll do anything you ask me. That's like the Rebbe telling him, take empty vessels. You don't even believe in it. But just go and take the empty vessels. And the guy agreed. You and your wife, the Rebbe said, should agree to light Shabbos candles on Friday night. Okay, the man said. I don't believe in it, but I'll do it. That's like an empty vessel. And from that point on, the family never missed a week of lighting candles to welcome Shabbos. As a result, Friday night gradually became sacrosanct for the family as a whole. Baking challah, welcoming guests, and sharing a meal all took on a special air in the holy glow of the candles. On the surface, lighting Shabbos candles is a single, seemingly simple mitzvah, an empty vessel. It's done without taste at first, just because the Rebbe asks. Alicia told the lady, take empty vessels. But it was life-changing. Those empty vessels became filled with the essence of the soul. And this weekly practice of coming together as a family for something sacred added a whole new layer of depth and meaning to their lives. All the vessels got filled up from the essence of the soul. And it exponentially enhanced their appreciation and connection to Judaism, which means connection to Hashem. The second story is of a man who was a famous artist, a sculptor, who had been part of the group of Chagall and Picasso in Paris in the 1940s. He was born in Russia in the early 1900s. And he got very sick. And they asked the Rebbe for a blessing. I think his wife came, and the Rebbe said, I know you, and I know your husband, and when he recovers, he will recover from this illness. Tell him to come and see me. And when the guy went to see the Rebbe, he told the Rebbe, I'm not a kosher Jew. I don't pray. I don't go to shul. I even made sculptures that are sitting in churches. The Rebbe listened to everything that artist said and then made two requests. First, he asked him to put on tefillin and daven every morning, pray every morning. And second, he urged him to marry his current wife according to Jewish law. Years later, this artist, and it can be looked up who it was, related in an interview that a few days later, the Rebbe sent a chassid with tefillin. And since then, he said, I pray every morning, and it's a great help to me. He really did something for me by advising me to do that. In the beginning, it was just an empty vessel. He had no reason to do it. He had no taste in doing it. He didn't even know why he should do it. But because Alicia, because the Rebbe told him to take an empty vessel, he did. And he was able to pour out the essence of his soul. And when he was asked why he felt it was so important for him to pray and put on tefillin every day, he said, it puts me together with my people. I'm with them. I'm near to Hashem. And I speak with him. He gives me strength for the day. It did something very important for me, he said. I couldn't live without it anymore. So he took an empty vessel, but the essence of his soul was able to be poured out and fill that vessel. And he was able to be happy and satisfied through it. And here we see a man who had drifted away from Jewish life, and he was warmly embraced by the Rebbe, by Elisha the prophet. It was only a request that he add a little more light to his mourning, which in turn illuminated his whole life. Want to have a niggin to go out with? And maybe the 3,000-year-old puppet wants to share a word with us.
An old puppet, what do you got to say for yourself?
Actually, I want to share a word with you.
Okay.
You know, sometimes it's easy to share. Weeks it's hard because let me tell you, the Alter Rebbe threw some heavy words on us this week. Oh boy! But I'll share it because it's important to share. You know what happens is by before Shabbos we read this special prayer, right? And it's from Posach Eliyahu. Eliyahu said, right, Antu Chad v'lei b'chushbon, you are one, but you can't count this Eberster.
There's no two attached to that one.
No
it's
two.
One alone.
Antu Datika Asa Tikunin, you are the one that comes out with in 10 spheres, 10 Chochma.
10 garments.
10 garments.
Yeah.
So anyways, you know, if I had about 14 hours, I would tell you the whole thing.
Baruch Hashem.
But the main thing I want to explain is like this. We have to understand, when Hashem came to make the world, so he took the Oyer Ein Sof, he took the light from his essence, and he moved it away. The Alter Rebbe says we should not think he actually moved it away, because really what he did was it became included in the Atmos, it became included in the Eberster's essence. The light of the Eberster's essence, of Hashem's essence, became included in his essence, and therefore not recognized. Sorry. Therefore not recognizable to all the beings. But what is important to understand is that this light and this Eberster was never removed from the empty space, which, by the way, the empty space is where the Eberster created the whole world with all of its universes, with our world of Atzilus and the world of Bria, Tzir, Asiyah. But what's important to understand is the Eberster is down here.
Is that like these squares in the middle of this black?
Hey, Schneider! By the way, I learned this with Schneider together in the Maimer. Right? Remember years ago, Schneider, remember this? And it's an important lesson. People, you have to understand, Hashem is not a philosophical thing. And all these things Bezalel is talking about, they're not very nice philosophical things. Hashem is real. Hashem is literal. And Hashem, Chevre, is down here. And not just down here, but the Atzmus Mahus, Hashem's essence, Hashem in his full glory is down here.
With us.
And by the way, and this is what's happening now, is the coming of the days of Mashiach means that it's going to be down here in a revealed way. And the way you connect together, if you're a Jewish man, put on tefillin, call your local shliach, Chabad.org, CHABAD.org. Find out about putting on tefillin every day. If you're a Jewish woman, you know that when you light Shabbos candles, you actually bring the Eberster's Atzmos Eir into this world. You bring the Hashem himself, the glory of Hashem himself into this world. And if you're not Jewish, there's also things for you to do. You can also bring this down. There's the 7 mitzvahs of the Noahide mitzvahs, the Sheva mitzvahs b'nei Noach. And by doing these mitzvahs, by accepting Hashem as your God, by realizing that Hashem is the only true God, that He is the creator of the heavens and the earth and everything in between, you can help bring Mashiach. And what was Mashiach? Mashiach means that Hashem will be down here on this earth in a revealed way. So everybody do a mitzvah. Right, Snyder?
Hey, thank you. That was good.
Snyder, is this not what we learned in that Maimer?
One of these days, we're going to see Hashem sitting on Schneider's lap.
Yeah.
We'll wait to see that.
Yeah, and by the way, it'll be Hashem sitting on Schneider's lap and Schneider sitting on Hashem's lap at the same time.
At the same time, yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, let me let you know, while this is happening, Leib will be playing a lullaby to both of them on his SpongeBob guitar.
There he goes. There he goes, Leib.
Okay, a niggin. Yeah, Schneider, should we sing a niggin?
Sing a nigga.
No, this is Aku.
Hey, no, did I? Is that it? Did I? There's a bongo. Auntie. Oishi, where's the bongo?
Hirsch, the bongos. Hirsch. All right.
Time out. Come here. Over here. Bezalel, Bezalel, right here.
I'm listening. Here I am. Hey!
You sing the line.
Jacob, you're right on time.
Yeah? By the way, we're going to still for Brent. We're almost at the end of the show, but we're still going for Brent. But no,
Well, you're on time.
Yaakov Yitzchak is here.
Why?
Wait, I need to make an announcement. Chevre, Herr Schneider, Yaakov Yitzchak is in the house, baby.
All right.
What's the chords for that? What's the chord for that? No, almost. Yeah, baby. There we go. Yeah. What's that?
Okay, folks. Gag is into hate. You ready?
out. Time out.
Time out.
Lorgy's headache.
It's a good headache. Dedicate your headache.
Where's my glasses?
Then to hate, cousin, to hate my friend. Remember, kids, gay goes into hate. See you next week.